Some of you have commented about making it look easy on videos. That's just because this is what I do. This is a set here that a local fisherman just brought me in brutally rough condition. And with a few minutes work, various types of steels here. I haven't checked any of these edges, by the way. None of them. This is my first check. This is what I do. Welcome back to another video. We've got a little different angle, different camera for you. Actually, one of my very early video cameras. It's going to be interesting to see the quality, but I just wanted to use it to get back in here because a big DSLR setup is hard to move around and get where we need to. I'm going to be starting out with a 36 grit belt here. We have that chef's knife today that we're going to be grinding in. I'm excited to finally get to hold this beautiful knife with a good handle on there. Okay, let's unveil our little surprise here and get on with the rest of the work, which is going to be some real exciting whetstone work, which I'm looking forward to. Oh yeah. Red dyed box elder burl stabilized brass pins. Oh, what do you guys think? You like that? I think it looks lovely. I know this wood is a little bit deceiving. It looks kind of pinkish first when you're starting with it, so you might be like inclined not to use it, but once you see it done and polish, it takes on that nice dark color, even as dark as maroons in there. Just gorgeous. Look at that. Imagine something as beautiful as that, not with the colors of course, but something that pretty just grows naturally. Just incredible. Okay, now to get on with the part you're probably more interested in, and that is the whetstone work. There was a little bit I did the other day for the demonstration, just a few passes. So we're going to continue with some of that. Doesn't that look good? Love that. But I put a little bit of tape on the handle just because it's that beautiful polished burl and just a little bit of aggressive. Might get a little bit dirty here, so I wanted to just cover it up, protect it from... Now today we're going to start, I'm going to choose my Nanawa Superstone 400. I haven't used this one in a while, but it's a lovely stone. It's not quite as fast a cutter as the Kuramaku Blue Black, which is usually my go-to starter stone. Now this knife does not need a lot of thinning, but we are going to do that a little bit. The last time I surfaced the blade of this knife, I did it on the belt grinder, which is why you see those striations there where I've started to do that. Those shallow striations will start to show through. But I'm going to just place this knife flat on the stone, the cheeks. You can see we have a bevel up to right about here. That's a nice long bevel, and the knife just obviously just wants to stay there. This is not a difficult part. And I will just start working the knife, and I will rotate a little pressure in towards my edge. You don't want your pressure falling back the other way. You'll make a lot more work for yourself. You'll start raising that bevel grind even more. So I'm just going to keep a little bit of pressure towards the edge, a little bit of downward pressure. See, that stone has dried out already. Some downward pressure, and we're just going to start working the knife aggressively. Lots of pressure, which is why my fingers are up here. Lots of weight. And you could do it this way, so you were orthogonal with the stone, or you can really do an extreme angle like this, but I like somewhere in the middle, just what's comfortable. Sharpening is very much kind of like TIG welding in that way. The more comfortable you are, usually the better results you get, because you're just kind of naturally letting it happen. Say dry again. It's a thirsty stone. Let's have a look at the results so far with those few passes. Let's see here. Lovely. Look at that finish we're taking on. Give you a good idea there of the texture. Now this process doesn't have to be too, all you're looking for is just over time you want to remove some steel. It's not like with sharpening your edge, you know, there are very clear checkpoints that you want to achieve before you move on or before you stop the process. This isn't like that. You want to remove some steel so that over time your knife doesn't get too thick. And you can kind of make it an aesthetic endeavor if you want. You know, I'm kind of sharpening now until I clean everything off and it looks all pretty, lots of nice striations on there. But you want to regularly remove some steel so your bevel doesn't get too thick. So now here's how we started. That beautiful patina, which I love. And here's what we're getting to right now, which is really, really beautiful. I love that. 400 grit, but even with 400 grit, look at that nice texture you can get. Just beautiful. It isn't all about the highest degrees of polish. That's lovely right there in my opinion. A little wet down as usual. A little attention with our dressing stone. Always the same. Lovely. So now we have this finish. We'll get to work, same process, laying it flat. And I'm not focusing anything on that edge yet. I haven't even touched the edge yet. Just working on doing some surfacing, taking off a little bit of steel on the cheeks of that blade. This will help my knife's performance in the long run. Still using lots of pressure, tons of pressure here. Well, not literally tons. I'm stronger than most men, but I'm not able to apply tons of pressure. And for the next part of the process, I'm going to use the famous Nanowai AO Toshi, the green brick, which is a 2000 grit. Look at the size of this monster. That's the most obvious thing that strikes you. Okay, here we go. This is the finish we have. A little bit smudgy, dirty there. That's the finish we have off of that 1000 Sharpening. You don't need to go any higher than that. That looks beautiful. Here you can see a few striations left in it. This looks lovely, and I don't mind it at all, but I'm going to choose today to go up to a little nicer polish. Just something fancy to match that, that burl. Now you have to turn up your volume and listen closely for the texture and sensation, the sound of this 2000 grit AO Toshi. I'm feeling a little speck of dirt there on the stone. Let's make sure it's clean or that will just really hurt. Do you hear that? Or hear the lack thereof? Just such a wonderful experience on this stone. It's not one of the first stones I'd go to. It's not a stone. It's not. I don't like finishing edges with this stone personally, but it is just such a beautiful stone. Let's look here with just those few passes. Look at that finish. Isn't that just a joy? Lately I've gotten to the habit of just leaving this on the corner of my stone and it's just bleeding water ever so slightly, just to keep everything saturated. I've been enjoying that. Remembering to keep that pressure down into the stone, even occasionally rotating up slightly just to start convexing into my secondary bevel, or the micro bevel that we're going to put on there at the end. Just so we don't have that sharp corner. And this is what we have now after a few more passes. Isn't that just stunning? Now, just for kicks, I'm going to switch out this 2000. I was thinking I'd stop there. I'm going to switch it out for a stone that I started with. One of my very early stones that I haven't used in years now. And this is a Steel X brand 1000 6000 combo stone. And you guys, you guys that have been watching for a long time saw lots of these stones. All my early sharpening videos, you go back through all my catalog, all my early sharpening videos was with this stone. Remember, all that time, we weren't actually touching the edge at all. Unless you have a zero grind knife, which has no secondary bevel and is just a singular plane right to the edge, then that whole time we were just touching the faces and not actually doing anything to our apex. Now the other day, we gave a quick few passes and brought it back to a paper cutting edge, which is just great and it'll perform just fine there now. But something I'm going to do right now, probably going to hurt some of you guys. Something you can do with a knife that gets a lot of use and something that gets really worked on a cutting board quite a bit. That very edge, the steel at the very edge, the apex, gets fatigued, gets weak. This has been shown microscopically, metallurgically, whatever terms you want to stick on it. But something you can do, and something that I don't always do, but professionals can do, is something called jointing your edge. You don't want to do this aggressively, but you can take your edge, you can draw it a couple times. I'm down on that 1000 grit there now. Draw it a couple times lightly, and that will remove that very apex of steel and cause you to go back further than you might if you just did what I did in that little test the other day. Because sometimes you can be confused by just giving a ripping little sharpening like that, and although you've straightened everything up and put everything back in line, you still have fatigued steel at the edge there. So by jointing it like that, you can draw off some of that steel. And then when you get back to work, now you have to sort of reestablish that edge. So I'm picking a bevel that I want. You can do the same. Stick with your factory grind. Look at pictures to get an idea of what a certain angle looks like that's adequate for kitchen knives. Generally somewhere between 15 and 20 degrees, 15 and 18 degrees. Pick what you want. Again, it doesn't matter that much. It just does not matter that much. Now this is a thin knife and we've just thinned it, so I'm not going to need very many passes before I reestablish that apex and we have a fresh bit of steel there. Okay, we're just going to run up to 4000 here. This will be our last stone. Not much pressure now. This is a thin edge. I don't want to say delicate, but it's not your Prevail bushcraft knife. It's something we're being light with, just taking real light, full length passes. switch to singles now. I advocate finishing with cutting strokes. And let's have a look here. We have that red dyed box elder burl. Trying to be gentle with it now as I touch it. It's quite sharp. With those brass pins, we did 3 pins there. That's how I designed when I originally drilled those holes. We have those thin cheeks there now, and I'd say that was worth the effort. This will still stain and patina, but it'll remain kind of a polished finish, but it'll be dark. It'll just be glorious. Just beautiful. What do you think? Is it flawless? No. But I'm fine with that. This is my own personal knife. I put in the amount of work and time that I wanted to put into it for right now. Spanned over, say, 2 years. That's not bad. We finally got a handle. Finally did a little bit of cheek thinning there. Honed that edge in. I always try to keep the edge sharp, but very, very happy with it. Thanks for watching. I really hope you learned something. At minimum, I hope you were entertained. Hit that like button if you would. Subscribe to my channel if it's your first time here. My info will be down below if you're looking for a custom knife of your own. I really appreciate you watching. See you in the next video.